Today we're talking about something that can give your bike a whole new, fresh feel: bar tape. Bar tape installation is often overwhelming for people because there's so many different ways to do it. So we are going to show you the way most people ride their bikes. Tools you'll need for installing the tape include a fresh box of bar tape, a roll of electrical tape, scissors, and possibly a flathead screwdriver. So as you get into your box of bar tape, you're going to find a number of things. There's going to be the tape itself, some new bar plugs, often some tape in case you don't have electrical tape, although generally this tape doesn't stick as well as electrical tape, so I recommend using the electrical tape instead, and one long or two short pieces of tape that actually have that double-sided tape on it. This is for something that I'll show you in just a moment. The first step to replacing your bar tape is to take the old tape off. The first step in that is to remove your bar ends. Now, most bar plugs can be easily removed with a flathead screwdriver. You can just pry that a little bit underneath the corner. It's fairly easy to get it off the rest of the way with a little bit of force, and your bar end will come right off. The second thing we want to do, we'll start from the other end, is remove the actual tape itself. So we are going to start from where the electrical tape is at the top of the bar, from as close to the bar as possible. The reason being is that sometimes this is like a double-sided tape. The tape we'll be using today has more of the silicone stickiness, so the tape tends to come off with it. So we'll keep moving along here. You'll notice there's still some electrical tape on the bar. That's okay. That electrical tape is holding down our cables. At this point, what you want to do is roll your hood back. This is actually designed to be moved back out of the way. We'll continue unwrapping the bars down and around. Usually I'd remove both sides at once, but for the purposes of this video, you're just going to do the same thing on the other side, so we're just going to show you one side. If you notice that any of this tape is either loose or sticky, this is a great time to replace it. Mine's looking good, so we can keep it as it is. There are a few things we need to do to prep for installing the bar tape itself. One is going to be taking this double-sided tape piece and cutting it to the right length. What this is for is to cover this piece of metal. So we want to measure from here to where the metal disappears on the other side, and we will cut a piece that length. If you were wrapping both sides of the bars, which usually you would be, you'd cut two pieces like this. To make sure I know where this is, I'm going to stick it to the bike, so it'll be there for when I'm ready to install the tape. We also need to check the bar end fit. Here's our new bar end, and if we slide it in, we can see there's quite a bit of resistance, which is great. It means it's going to stay in, and it also means we won't need to overlap the tape on the end. You want to make sure your scissors are in your pocket or well within reach, and that your electrical tape is already taped to the bike. So then you know you've got it in hand. Just tape my tape to the bike where I can reach it when I get to the end of the wrap. So starting from underneath so that edge is not visible, we're going to do one whole wrap very tightly around to hold it in place. Once we've got our first wrap in place, we're going to continue trying to make that bevel meet bevel. Now you'll notice as I'm coming around, I'm trying very hard to pull the tape snug. So sometimes that means pulling more on one side than on the other to keep that nice, smooth transition. There we go. We'll continue meeting bevel to bevel, making sure that there's also no gaps. Once we hit this curved part, things will change a little bit because you can't totally meet bevel to bevel on the curve. Again, notice I'm pulling up, pulling up, pulling over. I'm keeping it snug, and when I'm not able to hold on to it, I'm keeping it clamped down so that we don't lose any tension. A nice tight wrap will hold longer than a loose one. So here we come around again. We're not quite as bevel to bevel because we're going to have some overlap here. There we go. Now, when you're down to about one wrap, we're gonna start doing what I call criss, cross, criss, which is where we will cross this 3 times. And where we wanna make our cross is on the underside of the bar. So I'm gonna come around. Here's my first cross. Making sure all the time we want no gaps, no bulking. If you see either edge starting to kind of lift up too much, that means you need to pull on that side of the tape to tighten it up. So this is our cross. So I've crossed twice. We're gonna go around, cover up that last little bit that we had missed. And our final wrap, criss. This is our 3rd time making an X underneath. And that brings us right into the continuation of our wrap. At this point, it's nice to move in front of the bike and lower the handlebars a little bit so that you're a little more on top of them. There's a little bit of gapping right here. That means I didn't pull it tight enough. I don't need to pull the whole tape, but I actually just need to pull that one side a little bit tighter. If it's only gapping on one side, that's the only side you need to tighten. So we'll keep working. Remember, we're trying to keep it tight and bevel to bevel. We're getting that nice smooth wrap. Remember, it's not gonna be quite as bevel to bevel on the inside because of the curve. But once we get to where it's straight again, we'll be nice and bevel to bevel again. There we go. And now we're getting back to that straight part of the bar. So we need to start looking ahead at this point to where we want the bar tape to end. Most of the time you want to finish with a nice straight line about halfway between where the bar goes from narrow to wide. You can see my old tape mark here, and that's where I'll be aiming to end. So as we keep wrapping around, making sure again, keep nice tight wrap. When I pull towards the forward end, my bar tape's on an angle this way. And when I pull towards the back end, my bar tape is actually on an angle this way. That's super normal and will help you in a moment as we get to the end. And I can see right here, this is where I want my bar tape to be cut straight. So I'm going to score that little part of my bar tape. Now I'm gonna keep wrapping it around and pretending like I'm gonna keep going on an angle until my bar tape here meets the other end. So when I get down there where my little score is on the underneath, I'm gonna wrap my bar tape around and I'm gonna make another score. So what happens is I'm gonna unwrap it now and I have these nice marks here to tell me where to cut my tape. When I cut my tape here, it's strange to think I'm gonna cut it on an angle, but what it will leave is a nice straight wrap when I'm ready to finish. I'm gonna grab my scissors, which I conveniently left in my pocket where I could reach them, and I'm gonna start cutting from that top bevel, top score, I should say, down to the bottom score. And I want that a little bit narrower. There we go. So we have this nice line. So I'm gonna pull it nice and tight, keep wrapping it around, and now I'm right on that edge where I want to, and you can tell I'm still wrapping on the angle, but because I made the cut on the angle, it looks straight when I get to where I want to finish. When I get to this finishing point, I'm ready to grab my electrical tape that I had left right where I could reach it. Now the very end of my bar tape is underneath here. So that's where I will also want to start the electrical tape. The other nice thing is the end of electrical tape always gets a little bit wide and mushy looking. So we actually want that hidden. So I'm gonna start that, and again, for neatness, we don't want the electrical tape on the bar itself. We want the electrical tape just on the bar tape. So there we go, I can start it, and I'm gonna wrap it. I'm coming up and over, and you'll notice that electrical tape is just going over the edge, but it's not on the bar. I'm gonna come around again, fairly tight, and the third time I'm gonna just pull the tape out and make that third wrap a little bit looser. If you live somewhere that's particularly hot, this will keep it a little nicer. And then I'm just gonna cut the tape, finish up, and my last finishing touches are to flip the hood back where it goes and to install my bar end. It's got a little arrow in it. I'm gonna say going up, not down. There we go. And that is what a nice clean bar tape looks like. If you like this video, keep an eye on our channel. We'll have more just like this so that you can learn the best ways to take care of your ride.